Hi everyone, and welcome to today's Drama Hospital Recap. As always, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our videos or recaps. Happy Monday, let's get right to it. So at Casa Corinthos, Julian's there with the fruit basket, and I guess lowness runs in the Jerome family, and it's already super tense. Like he didn't even expect to get in the door, so that should tell you something. So he came to offer his condolences, yeah, I'm sure. And, just because they're enemies doesn't mean they can't be human. I'm like, okay. So Sonny wants to know what else, what he wants, right now. And Julian's like, I want to talk about the bomb that was supposed to kill me. And I'm like, okay, cool. At Franco's place, Franco's sketching his feet, which, props, feet are hard to draw. I might have attempted it once, but it was really bad. So Elizabeth doesn't need him 24/7 anymore, but she came over to see him, and she has, cookies or something he likes. There was this whole thing about him finishing them, and I don't know. So Franco cleans the table and the couch, and it's just my new personal way of cleaning stuff. He basically put the art supplies in the blanket that was on the couch, and then threw the blanket over the back of the couch, which wouldn't work here because there's a room there, but it's my favorite new way of cleaning. So, I wrote this, me and Franco are kindred spirits when it comes to cleaning motivation, but I'm getting better, and you're gonna see the difference, because it's about to change way in here. Sorry, it's late, and my mind is just everywhere. So, Elizabeth is looking at his sketches, and he sketched her sleeping while she was at the hospital, and she says she's really appreciative that he stayed by her bedside and made her look nice in the sketch, and they can bond as artists, and that's an interesting angle for them to take, because I know a lot of people have issue with the relationship, understandably, there's a lot of history there and stuff, but maybe if they approach it from the artist angle, could be something different. But she needs to get back to work yesterday. So he thinks General Hospital is opening, and she's like, yeah, no, it's not, but, she needs to work anyway. Mercy and all the surrounding hospitals are staffed up, and she thinks about going to Rochester, perhaps. So he asks if he can take her out to eat, because he's not too thrilled about the idea of her moving to Rochester, obviously. And he says, oh, let's go to the Metro Court, and she's like, hey, what about Kelly, since we're both not working? And he's like, oh, it's happy hour at the Metro Court, half-price cupcakes, which I think is really nice, because as we learned yesterday, seafood is usually excluded from the happy hour menu, so the fact that Metro Court has half-price crab cakes really makes me want to go there. At the Metro Court, what?
That's so cute.
It's true. I haven't had crab cakes in the longest time. So at the Metro Court, Tracy confronts Lucy, who has her finances back, by the way, because she sold the duplex. Who lives in a duplex anymore? A lot of people. I'm not judging. We knew someone who lived in a duplex. I remember Michelle going to the duplex. So Lucy says that if it wasn't for her family, Paul, the board wouldn't have had. I don't know. They wouldn't have closed General Hospital in the first place. Sure, that's all Tracy's fault. Let's blame it on her. So, Tracy points out that Paul tried to kill Monica and her, and Lucy's like, yeah, sorry for lumping it all together. That wasn't cool. And then Lucy tells Tracy to buy the hospital herself. Not the worst idea. If I had the finances, I'd buy the hospital. Who doesn't want to own a hospital?
I think that's a great idea.
See. So Tracy seems to consider it, and then maybe not. And Tracy is taking the lead at ELQ while Michael's on his leave. So Tracy says that General Hospital won't open again as long as 2 of the attacks remain unsolved. And I'm like, could she possibly be talking about Lucas and Bobby? Because, they really needed to acknowledge that, because that was, a huge thing. And Liz and Franco come in and hear that part. And yes, in fact, it is Bobby and Lucas they were talking about. Paul has an alibi for those 2 attacks and no motivation. So who did that? So technically, we're not done with this whole hospital killer thing. There were 2 hospital killers. 2. Sorry, my pinky kind of made it look like 3 for a second. And then Elizabeth and Franco are talking, and she might talk to Patrick and Robin and possibly go to Berkeley. And I was like, okay, for someone with limited finances, you're talking about moving across the country. That's not a super easy thing to do. At Kelly's, Curtis and TJ meet. TJ's still shaken up about this whole thing, and the fact that he was like the last one, obviously besides Jason, but the last person to see Morgan alive, and that he was so worried about him. And Curtis asked him exactly what he saw. I'm like, okay, not subtle at all. So he says he saw that Morgan was starting a manic episode, and he feels he should have been stronger with Morgan. And Curtis tells him not to think like that, and he really shouldn't think like that. I mean, he did act in the moment. He did a really good job. Morgan, like he did all he could have done in the moment to stop Morgan, basically. So TJ says Sonny might have been the one who planted the bomb, and Curtis is like, hey, is that what your mom thinks? Like, are they officially investigating him? It's like, yeah, okay, not so at all. So Curtis asks some more in-depth questions, and TJ's like, why? And Curtis makes like this excuse, like, oh, I used to be in the force, so I can't not think like this. And TJ's like, oh, you're running a private investigation. And Curtis is like, no, I can't tell you that. And TJ's like, no, it's cool. I know who hired you. So he thinks he's working for Sonny to find out the truth, which means that Sonny's innocent. And I'm like, oh, sweetie. So Curtis wants to spend more time with TJ and really appreciate life and go to a Bills game. And is that football? Because we're in football season? I don't know. Please don't hurt me. So at Carly's house, Carly is looking at a turtle Morgan made and crying. Jason shows up. Michael told him what happened with her leaving with Jocelyn, and Carly is lost for what to do. And Jason asks if Carly told Jocelyn what Sonny did. We don't know for sure. And she's like, no, I didn't. Christina did, which I don't know why she did that. That was ridiculous. So Jason tells her that she's supposed to be home with Sonny, and they both need each other. He's like super team Sonny right now. So Carly calls Nell and Nell tells her that Avery's doing good. Carly would have loved to bring Avery with her, but she doesn't really have the authority to do that. So Jason tells her to go home again, and it doesn't matter to Carly that Sonny called off the hit. She can't go back there. And Jason's like, yeah, but Sonny lost his child too. You guys need each other. Like this is why he has come here. So she says that she has him, and that's all she needs. And he's like, look, I'm not enough. No matter what, I'm not gonna be enough. So she's stuck on the Sonny killed my son train of thought. Whatever. And she needs to keep Jocelyn safe, and Jason again is very pro Sonny. If he was gonna not have doubts, but like lower his guard, I don't know. I can't phrase it right, but if he was gonna say anything, it would be to Carly. So the fact that he's being so unapologetically pro Sonny makes me think that a part of him knows/thinks that if he had worked for Sonny at the time, or if he had helped Sonny, take revenge against Julian, and Sonny didn't have to go through a million people and people he didn't know or people he didn't like totally trust, that this wouldn't have happened, because Sonny would have called Jason, be like, oh, it's off. Jason would have gone right there, boop, done, So, or even it wouldn't have been like this car bomb. I'm sure Jason had much more subtle ways of making people disappear. So I think that's kind of his mindset a little bit. That's just me thinking that though. So she feels like she's been lying to herself about Sonny, and she brings up Michael's coma and that she should have learned her lesson then, and she's never going to forgive herself. And Jason reassures her that she's a great mom and she doesn't feel like it. And Jason says that he's going to ask some questions and find out what happened, and maybe he'll give them all some closure. Back at Casa Corinthos, Nell hears Sonny and Julian arguing about the violence and ending it, and how Lucas was shot, and this and that, and really just bringing up everything. So Julian says he's not going to retaliate. No. Oh, and neither is Sonny. And Sonny's like, and Julian's like, it's for our own mutual interest. So they keep going back and forth with history and recent history. So Julian asks Sonny who he's willing to sacrifice next as collateral damage. Christina, and like he starts naming her your wife. And I'm like, that's kind of borderline threats, to be quite honest. That's how I would read that. So by the way, Nell is hearing all of this. So Julian wants to honor Morgan by stopping the war. And Sonny's like, you're kidding, right? Like, you recruited my son. You told me to put a leash on him like 2 weeks ago. You tried to kill your wife. Like, you're gonna honor someone? Really? So Sonny tells him to get out or he's gonna kill him because he can. And I'm like, there you go, Sonny. Good old Sonny. So Sonny takes his anger out on the fruit basket, which I'm I'm honestly very upset about, because I mean, he doesn't know this, but that was Nina's gift, or not gift, but to them. So it really wasn't the fruit. That fruit basket was not bought in malice. It was bought in love, and now it's been thrown on the floor. Mm-mm.
Yeah, but he didn't know.
I know. So Nell comes down and asks him if he's all right, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, I kind of forgot you were here." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness!" Like, if you're hearing people talk about the heinous crimes they've committed, that they could be sent to jail for a billion years, you stay upstairs and then you pretend you didn't hear anything. You let them find you, or be like, "Oh, yeah, I just came out of that room all the way down the hall where this is totally out of earshot." Mm-mm. So, now, not that, but everything's fine, though. So Nell's going to stay in Avery's room while Sunny gets some rest, and she's very supportive of him, little too, so she's not freaked out enough by this whole thing. Like, I know, I don't know, I mean, she's new in town, she doesn't know anyone, like, how much does she... I don't know how much she knows about Sunny, or like this whole situation, but I feel like hearing what she heard, she should be a lot more freaked out than she is. Like, she's 0% freaked out. She should be at least 5% freaked out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, something's not right. Then at a meeting outside Kelly's, outside Kelly's, honestly, I don't know. Julian and Curtis meet. Curtis is still working on it since he was only hired a few hours ago. And Julian's like, "Well, I'm paying you enough for constant updates." And I'm like, "Yeah, but like, at what cost?" So he says he's starting with TJ, and Julian plans to take Sunny down with the truth, because why not? And now the end scene. So Julian tells Curtis he just saw Sunny and he's a wreck. His guard is down, and now it's the perfect time to investigate him, and that he's going to be more careful because he doesn't want to end up in prison, and he still plans on rebuilding his life with everyone in it. And I was like, whoop-de-freaking-do. Nell made Sunny a chamomile tea, and Sunny tells Nell that Morgan used to read Avery's stories and act out every part, and Nell goes to, read Avery's stories. So now Sunny's all alone. "Why are you laying on my footy cap?" Carly doesn't care about the logistics of the hit. Jason says, he tried to save Morgan. He talked to him. He got Morgan to trust him. Morgan was calm at the time. He wasn't manic, and everything should have been okay, and he should have been able to save him, but he wasn't. And, they kind of, comfort each other over that. And then she says how happy she was that she named him after Jason, and that whole thing that went on back then. Lucy bugs Tracy about buying the hospital. She really does a hard sell. Franco and Liz talk about the attacks on Bobby and Lucas. I wrote Morgan, but that's not right. Franco says he might know someone who knows what happened. So this is totally 100% my theory that I came up with all by myself. Just kidding. It's my mom's theory. That maybe Heather was involved because she was convinced that Franco was the hospital killer. So she had done something to protect him, like hiring someone to, do attacks or killings, when Franco would have had an alibi to protect him. So, which I think is pretty spot on, which is why I totally came up with it all by myself. Alright, that is it for today's Drama Hospital recap. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow for more Drama Hospital. I hope you have a great day, and I have some videos planned to actually edit that I've been meaning to edit for like a month, but let's see. I have it written down, so I might actually do it. So look forward to that this week, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye!